Hello, if you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Shelby and I'm a photographer. Today I am making my first ever review video for a camera. So to preface, recently I've been on the search for a point and shoot film camera that's the perfect everyday carry for me. I've actually already purchased 2 cameras towards this goal, but I haven't made a video on those yet, so I would like to eventually. But today we're going to start with the 3rd camera I've purchased in my quest to find the perfect everyday carry. The camera I'll be talking about today is the Kodak Snapic A1. This camera's been on my radar for a while now, and after finally watching some other people's reviews and looking up sample photographs from this camera online, I decided I really wanted to give it a shot. I picked up my Snapic from a local camera store, but you can also get them from Amazon, Kodak, or several other online photography stores. I actually got my camera a couple days before the 4th of July, and since I had some pretty excited plans for the holiday, I figured why not bring it along and start testing it out. But before I show you the results, let's talk about some of the features that this camera has. Now, the first thing I noticed when I took this camera out of the box was how thin and light it is. For comparison, here are my 2 other point and shoots side by side with the Snapic. As you can see, both the Canon and Olympus are significantly thicker. The Snapic features an OLED screen, and the button next to it allows you to not only switch between different flash modes, but put the camera in a double exposure mode as well. Just keep in mind, if you take a double exposure, the camera won't let you take the second photo until you push this little lever on the front. The lens on the Snapic is pretty wide at 25mm and is made of glass, so it's actually really sharp. While this camera unfortunately doesn't have autofocus, it does have zone focusing, so depending on if you're photographing a subject up close or something far away, you just flip the switch under the lens. You do get a few things in the box with the Snapic, such as a cloth carrying case, strap, and cards with information about the camera. This orange strap that I have on my Snapic is actually one that I already had lying around because the strap that comes with it is honestly ridiculously long. This year for the 4th of July, some of my friends and I went to a concert at the Germania Insurance Amphitheater in Austin. It was less like a concert and more like a mini festival though, as there was music from 4 p.m. until midnight. The concert was advertised as Willie Nelson's 4th of July picnic, and some of the headliners included Sheryl Crow, Wilco, Billy Strings, and of course Willie Nelson himself. There was also an about 15-minute fireworks show before Willie Nelson went on. I have to say, I absolutely love the way the colors turned out in my photos from the concert. They're just so vibrant. I decided to use Kodak Gold for my first roll of film in my Snapic. Part of the reason I decided on gold was because I've used it a lot before and know I like it. For example, if you've seen any of my Texas State Park videos, I use gold for the majority of those photos. Another reason I picked gold was because it's a 200 speed film. If you look at the quick start guide for the Snapic, it recommends you use either 100 or 200 ISO film if you are going to be shooting outdoors during the daytime in sunny or partly cloudy conditions. However, that didn't scare me from trying out a few shots at night. As you can see, the nighttime shots weren't exactly the greatest. I did use flash for all of these, and while I do think the picture of my fiancé turned out pretty good, everything else was just too far away to turn up. The only thing that I really got to show up on any other photo were these 2 big screens on either side of the stage, and that's because they're 2 giant, really bright screens. So if you plan on using this camera at nighttime, especially with 200 speed film, I recommend not only using the flash, but keeping your subject pretty close. Anything far away is just not going to show up. I didn't end up using my entire roll of film on the 4th, so a couple days later, I decided to take a few photos around my house just to see how the camera performed indoors with a lower film speed than recommended. You can see that there's a pretty strong vignette on these photos, probably due to the wide lens and also the fact that I was taking photos inside with flash. However, I've always been fine with a bit of vignette. I personally think that the slight vignetting on the photos I took outdoors is perfectly fine, and while it is noticeably worse on the indoor photos, it's an aesthetic I honestly don't hate. After all, it's got kind of a disposable film camera vibe if the camera had a sharper lens. Regardless, you definitely want to take photos indoors with the flash on. I accidentally took a photo of my shark without flash first, and even though I had a light on and I'm pretty sure the blinds were open, you can't see anything in the photo. Something else I feel like I'm noticing when I look at a few of these images closely is they're very slightly blurry. I think what happened with these photos is I got just a little too close to my subject, but despite that, I feel like they're still all perfectly usable photos. I think if I got a little too close with my other 2-point-and-shoots, the photo would have been so blurry that it just wouldn't have been usable at all. However, if I get a bit too close to the Snapic, I still have to kind of squint to determine if it's actually slightly out of focus or not. The last thing I did while I was at home with my Snapic was try out a couple double exposures. Now, I wasn't really trying to do anything artistic with it, I just wanted to see if it would even work, so enjoyed these horrible double exposures. Later that same day, I went to my favorite photo lab to get my photos developed, but I still had a few shots left, so I thought I'd finish the roll-off at the lab. Before I went inside, I took this photo angled up near the top of the trees just to see how much of a sun flare I would get. Yeah, this one's not my favorite. Finally, I wanted to try taking a selfie with this camera since I've heard that supposedly the lens is wide enough to do it. I am very happy to report that this camera can indeed take selfies. Overall, I'm really happy with the Snapic. Sure, it kind of sucks that there's no way to adjust your exposure without literally changing the film that's in the camera, but that's honestly the only big downside for me. And even though I wasn't necessarily using the recommended film speed for some of my photos, I still think they turned out pretty decent. So if you're someone like me and you want a camera that's easy to use, can take decent quality photos without a lot of hassle, and is very light and easy to carry around in your pocket, then you should give this one a try. If you also have a Snapic, feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Or if you have another camera that you prefer to use as an everyday carry, I'd love to hear what it is and what you like about it. Thanks for watching.